Tammy Wright is here to tell us all about the Burr Oak Land Trust. And the reason we asked them to be part of our summer reading program is this year our theme is Build a Better World. And in Iowa City and Johnson County, Burr Oak Land Trust is ensuring that there will be a better world for us and for our children and for their children. And I'm gonna let Tammy tell you all about it because I'll just mess it up.
Thank you. Well, good evening and welcome. I'm glad everybody is here, and I'm anxiously, I was encouraged to hear that this will be broadcast live, so those who couldn't be here tonight can still learn about Burr Oak Land Trust. We unfortunately think we're one of the best kept secrets around, so we appreciate opportunities like this to be able to tell our story and introduce Burr Oak Land Trust to individuals and let you know how you can help and how the Land Trust helps our community. So our mission is to protect and conserve the natural areas of Johnson and surrounding counties for future generations. And we take that very seriously. We have a board of directors that consists of 15 dedicated individuals from Johnson and surrounding counties. And they're really, they're very dedicated and help us to point our organization in the right direction and lead us into bigger and better things. And our organization is changing constantly, and it's because of very dedicated not only donors, but financial donors, but people who give of their time and their talent. Our focus is protection and restoration of wetlands, prairies, woodlands, large and small. And why is protecting natural land in Iowa important? Lots of reasons, but to encourage a rich diversity of plant, animal, and insect species, to remind us of our natural heritage, to enjoy the beauty of natural areas, to improve and control water resources, to improve human health, the green vitamin, to aid wildlife migration with large parcels without formal roads. And we've been very successful, hoping to become more successful with the properties that we have, trying to incorporate properties around those properties into larger tracts of land that are protected for our wildlife. So natural land is protected by parks, preserves, natural areas, federal, state, and local. Land trust in Iowa, there are only 6 land trusts. 2 of which are accredited by nationally accredited by the National Land Accreditation Commission, and Natural Heritage Foundation is the other one. That's a huge process that's very involved, and we're very proud to be able to say that we are accredited. And we have to go for reaccreditation every 5 years, and we're starting that process now. So that's something we can look forward to. We in Iowa only have, like I said, 6 land trusts, and there are out east and out west, there are a lot of land trusts. And when you say land trust, people understand what that is and they know. In Iowa, not so much, or even in the Midwest, land trusts are a little bit less common. And so just saying Burr Oak Land Trust doesn't really explain what we do. And so I'm glad you're here tonight to be able to hear how and why we do what we do. So these are some of the ways that we can help. We accept donations of land. We obviously accept other donations too, but land donations, we also place conservation easements on land, and that's kind of a different, unique tool that we have to be able to protect land. But we enter into a conservation easement. It's a legal binding document with the landowner. The land remains in the landowner's possession, but this conservation easement attaches to the deed, and that stays there forever. And so there's all kinds of different approved and not approved uses and things that can and can't happen on that land. And so, like I said, we enter into that with the current landowner, and then whatever we agree to with that landowner, that stays with that property forever. So, so we help to manage and restore native vegetation. We monitor and work with present and future landowners to maintain conservation values of the land. there's a few things that we help. So I talked a little bit about conservation easement. So sometimes we purchase land if we don't really have a big checkbook to do that. So we usually, if we're going to purchase, it's part of a capital campaign. And we just finished a capital campaign to purchase 40 acres adjacent to one of our 40-acre properties. That's the one we're touring on Saturday. And just a beautiful piece of property. And we had a $700,000 capital campaign. $360,000 of it went to purchase the land. $340,000 of it will be to protect that piece of land and also our other properties, helping to remove invasive species from those properties. Sometimes we remove the invasive species with volunteers. That happens a lot. And then sometimes we actually hire work crews. And so that's where some of that money will go. So conservation easement, I kind of went through that a little bit. We have to monitor those conservation easements at least annually. We're small enough yet and our properties are close enough together that we get out to the properties much more than a year, every year, but that is, we are bound to do that. That's our legal, our obligation is to monitor at least once a year. So we were formed as Johnson County Heritage Trust in 1978, and in 2014, we renamed ourselves Burr Oak Land Trust. Johnson County Heritage Trust was very confusing for people. Johnson County people thought we were just, we were bound by the county boundaries. Johnson County people thought we were government funded because of the words Johnson County in our name. Heritage people thought we were the Historical Society. I would get calls saying, I found something in Grandma's attic, are you interested in it? And I'd be wondering, well, is it a map or, what is it? And how does it relate to land preservation? And then I would realize they were trying to get a hold of the Historical Society. And with their name trust, or the word trust in our name, people thought we were a bank. So we were very, very confusing. And now that we're Burr Oak Land Trust, at least we have the word land in our name. And people do kind of, I think, more resonate with who we are. We also, at the same time, moved our office. We were on Kirkwood Avenue, and now we're on Sturgis Corner Drive. And so we're much more visible. We have signage, much more accessible. We now have a truck and a trailer, so we have a driving billboard. So people are kind of seeing our logo a little bit more. That was another thing we did, was change our logo, obviously, with our name. So I do think we are getting our name out there quite a bit more, which is wonderful and exciting for us. So in 1978, when we were formed, it was a very small group of individuals that had very forward thinking, very far-sighted, and beyond their years, I think, really thinking that we had a need for a land trust in our community. And so Nancy Seiberling is credited. The other people who are still living who were around at that time said she was really the driving force, and she also helped found Project Green here in town. And so we have something that's called the Nancy Seiberling Circle. So for our donors that give $1,000 a year or more, that commit to doing that every year, we have a Nancy Seiberling Circle, and we're actually having our annual get-together on Sunday. So we can appreciate those folks who really give us our base funding to be able to at least know we've got that much coming in that we can budget for. So we are nationally accredited, I said that earlier. A member of the Land Trust Alliance, that's kind of the umbrella organization that most all land trusts belong to. So we have 9 properties that we own, and we'll close on one more next week and another by the end of the year if all goes well. 14 conservation easements, 650 acres in Johnson County, and the 2 properties that we're closing on by the end of the year. One we currently hold a conservation easement on, kind of in North Liberty, Coralville area, where they come together. So that's 40 acres that will, instead of conservation easement, we'll actually own, which is exciting. And then we have 20 acres, which is actually in Poweshiek County, just south of Grinnell. And so we're pretty excited about that. Both areas have been very, very well taken care of, and there will still be some work to be done, but it's exciting that we're growing. And our current properties, you can kind of see where the circles are. That's where, these are the properties that we own. And so they're kind of spread out throughout Johnson County. And this is our staff. We have 600 plus members. We say members, actually people who donate financially, but we have a lot of people who come out to our properties and help with our work days. And some that maybe come one time as part of a group, and others that are out there daily almost. It's just incredible the work that gets done on our properties. And our board of directors, comprised of landowners, educators, business people, conservationists, and there's our big staff, which I'm excited about, because when we were born in 1978, we had no staff until 2005, when I was hired as our first staff person, and I was hired as administrator 8 to 15 hours a week. So we have come a long way. I'm still 36 hours a week. Seth is full-time, which is great. He went from 20 hours to 40 in November, which has just he's been able to do so much more. And Susan's our assistant. She makes it all happen in the office, and Maureen is our contract grant writer. And so it's just so nice to be able to look up there and see more than one picture. So it was a long time coming, but it's been fun, and I just celebrated my 12-year anniversary, so it's been fun to watch the organization grow and to be able to grow with it. As I said, our board of directors, we have 15, our property stewards. Each property has at least one property steward that's a volunteer that works with Seth, our employee. They make management plans for the team, and then they make sure that those management plans are carried out and goals are set and eventually achieved. Sometimes it takes longer than others. It just depends on how many people show up for the work days and if we're able to get grant money or other funding that we can hire work crews. Volunteer teams from organizations, companies. We've been very fortunate to have some good partnerships with some of our local businesses where instead of going to work that day, they come out to our property and really work. So that's been great. They really, those kinds of work days are fun for them. They build good camaraderie, and they're great for us. And so it's good for everybody. We have volunteers that plan and host events. And then here's our list of board of directors. And we just, in April, had our annual meeting and had 5 new board members come on. So we have a full board now. It's really exciting. They're very, there we go. Very dedicated individuals, and that is one thing that has not changed through the years about our organization. When I came on, our board, like I said, was all volunteer, and it was amazing to me what they accomplished being all volunteers. And so that is one thing that has been consistent and has not changed. We have a very strong, dedicated board. And then here's our property stewards for all of our different properties. Very dedicated, very hardworking. Most of these people have day jobs as well as working on the properties when they're not at their job. So we're very fortunate. We will be touring on Saturday at the Big Grove and the Big Grove Edition. And Don Bolin and Ken Louder. Ken will be your tour guide. And he just exudes passion for the property and the work that has been done out there. And it's a lot of fun. You'll have a great time with him. And this is our Shimmick Ravine property. So our property stewards out there are Carter Johnson and Terry Doms. And Shimmick Ravine is very close to Shimmick Elementary School. Matter of fact, if you're in the parking lot and you're looking at the school's on your right. Straight ahead is a lawn, and to your left is the ravine. It's 13 acres. It was donated in 1992 by the homeowners that live on Ridge Road, or that did at that time live on Ridge Road. Several of them donated part of their backyard, and that's why the property line, I got my little red light, but I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is. I have my finger in front of it. Okay, so it's kind of a strange boundary here, and that's because different landowners donated different portions of their backyard. And so that has been a great project. When I started working here in 2005, you could not see in that timber at all. It was so dark. And I mean, it reminded me of the scary movies and how Don't go in there, the deep, dark woods. And I kid you not, we had an AmeriCorps team in 2006, and they would cut down trees this big around, and they would stay standing because the Oriental bittersweet vines were so entangled up in their canopy of the trees. It was just sickening. And now you can actually look through there and see daylight, and there still has a lot of work to do, but we've come a long way. Our O'Mara Newport Woods property stewards Mark Vitash, who is our district forester for the DNR, and Liz Moss, and it's 30 acres off of Prairie du Chien Road. It was donated by the O'Mara family in 2005. It is probably one of the properties, we say our properties are open to the public, and they are, but this one is a little bit harder to get to because we have to go through somebody else's property to get to our property, and we're working on that. But that's one that we don't usually we have work teams out there, but we don't send individuals out there really without us being with them. Turkey Creek, this is 107 acres off Sugar Bottom Road. We'll be not very far from there on Saturday. So if you do the tour and you're ready for more, stop by Turkey Creek. It's right on Sugar Bottom Road, right where Sugar Bottom Road crosses Turkey Creek. There's a bridge, and then you'll see our kiosk. John Van Rybrook is our property steward, and Seth Zimmerman. It was donated in 1981 by the Gelman, Howe, Lasansky, Greenleaf, and Buckley families. They all owned it together. They spent a lot of weekends out there with their families, and they just couldn't bear the thought of it ever becoming a development, so they came together and donated it to Burr Oak Land Trust. That was our, Johnson County Heritage Trust at the time, but that was the first property that we acquired. We were born in 1978, so it took till 1981 to actually have land. So that was, and there it is. And we're trying to get a bridge. We're actually actively seeking grants to put a bridge in because there's 61 acres of that 107 acres that we can't get to without going through the neighbors. And the neighbors have been very good to us about letting us have access, but the public doesn't have access to that 61 acres. And so it would be really, really nice if we could get a bridge in there to be able to access the whole property. And then these are Virginia bluebells that around the first week of May, around morel season, the whole hillside, when you're walking down, we have nice trails out there. There's a limestone bluff outcropping that is just coated with Virginia bluebells, and it is a beautiful, beautiful sight. So that's a lot of fun to be able to showcase that. We have a family day at Turkey Creek every spring where we get some volunteers, usually like University of Iowa volunteer, or University of Iowa School of the Wild, or Taproot, or somebody like that to come out and lead. They'll have microscopes, and they'll net up the little creatures in the creek, and the kids get in the creek and they check out all the little critters, and it's just fascinating and fun to watch the kids just wowed by these little critters, and of course then they have their little rubber boots on, which is all fine and good until they go in beyond their boots, and then it becomes very entertaining. Big Grove property, this is where we'll be on Saturday. Property stewards Don Bowen and Ken Louder, 40 acres, which is now actually 80 acres. It's the end of 245th Street off of Sugar Bottom Road. And it was acquired as a bargain sale in 2004 from Dick Schwab and Will Weibel. And what's interesting about this property is now it's 80 acres, but it borders the Corps of Engineers, and it also borders land that we hold 9 conservation easements on, which totals 90 acres. So it's a very large parcel that is undisturbed, and it's a big, deep woods area that we don't have a lot of in Iowa, let alone in Johnson County. So we were very excited to be able to make it an 80-acre parcel. There's still land nearby that we're hoping to either purchase or have donated in the future. So that's a work in progress. Grove Prairie is right off of, it's Highway 382. So it's the road that goes from Lake McBride to Solon. And there's a level B road, Polk Avenue. It's right on the corner. And right now there's a really large house they just put in there. But so Stroud Prairie is in their front yard. Our property steward is Charlotte Farley. It's only 1.5 acres. It has several, and I can't give you the number, species of native prairie plants. It's never been disturbed. And the reason it survived, we used to call it propane prairie. It had a big cement saddle where the propane tank sat, and it's right along the railroad right away. So it's one of the few places that didn't get plowed up or sprayed, and it's just absolutely gorgeous when it's all in bloom. Hora Woods is our property out by West Branch. It was donated by Mabel Hora, who was a school teacher in 1986. And John Gardner is our property steward there. That's not a picture of John Gardner. And here's Pappy Dickens Preserve. This property, we worked with the Friends of Hickory Hill Park. They did a lot of the fundraising to purchase the land, but they weren't in a position where they could hold deed. So we worked with them. We hold deed. We conduct work days out there, and Friends of Hickory Hill Park are really good about working with us and helping us to keep that land. We've done a lot of work out there. It looks a lot different than it did when we acquired it. And it makes Hickory Hill Park even bigger and nicer, so there it is. So. And then Belgum Grove is down by Hills. It's still an Iowa City address, but it's you can get to it from the Hills exit off of 218. It was donated in 1998 by David and Kathy Belgum. They, again, lived in town, had horses out there, spent a lot of weekends out there with their family, and just didn't want it to become anything other than a wonderful place for people to enjoy. And we did a lot of restoration. We put in a 5-acre pond. We've planted prairie. We actually planted, let me see if I can make this work. There we go. This has all been planted to prairie. This is a wetland that we installed. This is Dirty Face Creek running through. It's the only one of our properties that has a building. It was a pony barn, and now it's kind of been our tractor tool shed. And this was planted to prairie as well. There's a pine grove and an apple orchard up here that the Belgums had planted. We put in a lot of pawpaw trees and red cedars, kind of encouraging our pollinators, and yeah. Oh.
I don't have my mic on, but tell them about the lack of a bridge and how you can't get there when it's wet.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so the lack of a bridge, okay, and we can't get there when it's wet. This is true. So when you come in, this is where you park. There's a nice parking area there. And then you come down here and you cross right here. We've put in cement. We've put in, they call them cow pies, but they're big chunks of cement. So they're stepping stones in a sense. But when we get a big rain event and the water comes through here, it really comes through there. And so this fills in with silt. And it also, sometimes our stepping stones when we go out there are not where we left them, and sometimes they're gone completely. So if we had a bridge here, that would be great. Right now, if the water's low, we can drive across it. But if it's not, then you're out of luck. You know, whether you're driving or walking, you're not going to get across it. So, but a lot of people come out and ice fish and fish. Yeah, obviously this time of year. Okay, I have a question. Yes?
I drive by that all the time, but how many acres is there in that?
Okay.
Before,
Yep. So Belgum Grove is 40 acres. Yep. And there's a lot of people who come out and fish, walk their dogs, spend a lot of time out there just enjoying. We have stocked the pond so that it has catfish, bluegill, and bass. And we just this week put in signs like, please don't throw the bluegill back after you catch them, and please don't keep the bass unless they're a certain length. So we've got good directions now for our fisher people. Belgum Grove Family Day. This happens in the fall, and it's one of my favorite pictures. So this is Mark Vitosh, our district forester, and those kids just hang on to his every word. He was obviously talking about trees because that's what he does, but, and this was one of my favorite family days. So this gal is very, very, very pregnant, and we put her on the hay rack ride, and we weren't sure that she was, she was gonna not have to go to the hospital. But I didn't get the picture, but in my mind I always have the picture of Ann Feddersen standing next to her with her walking stick. Ann was 90 at the time probably. And then we have this extremely pregnant woman, and I think that's what we think of when we think of Family Day. Children of all ages. We target elementary students and their families, but we really try to make it an event for everybody. So I talked about the 40-acre purchase. That's our big Grove edition that you'll see on Saturday. And yeah, our capital campaign went very smoothly. And if anybody's listening that has contributed, thank you so much for making it possible. It's really a gem and a jewel, and I'm glad you're going to get to see it. And then, and if you're not going to get to see it on Saturday, it's always there. You can go anytime. And then the 20-acre parcel near Grinnell and the 40-acre parcel in Johnson County both being donated, which is very, very, very generous. Activities on the properties, these are just a few of the things that happen on the properties. So, oops, I went too fast. So geocaching, that's been a fun thing that has helped us to reach a whole new group of people that we wouldn't have normally, maybe wouldn't have known we were here. So it's fun because we know they've been there, because they'll log on and they'll leave a comment about what they found or where they found it, or wow, this place is great, or gosh, there's a lot of poison ivy here. We get a lot of great comments. Otherwise, it's really hard to track who's been on our property and how much they get used. And I'm going to do a quick time check here, see where I'm at. Okay, all right. So yeah, mushroom hunting, hiking, outdoor classroom for scouts and schools, dog walking, obviously everything you do in nature. We have some people that do cross-country skiing and snowshoeing out on the properties. We've had scout troops actually camp. Normally we don't allow camping, but if it's a scout troop and they're doing a service project, that's what we're all about, is our future generations. We're hoping to raise up the next generation of property stewards, because our property stewards are not young people, most of them. And so they're concerned about who's going to take over when they're not able to do what they do. And here's kind of some of our upcoming events, our annual events. Prairie Preview, I just got confirmed today that Mark Hirsch, who is the author of That Tree, is going to speak at Prairie Preview 2018. So we're pretty excited about that. I think that'll be exciting. And he's going to do a photography workshop as well, which, yeah, I see excitement. Our annual meeting, this is already this year, but we usually have our annual meeting on the Friday before or of Earth Week. So that seems to fit quite well. And our Spring Family Day happens at Turkey Creek. Music on the Prairie happens at Belgum Grove, July 8th. We hope you'll all join us. We've got Dave Moore and the Great Blue Herons, our entertainment. And Barancini Restaurant is going to serve something like lasagna in a cup. And so that's a nice treat too. We were excited to be able to secure them as our food vendor. So there'll be food for sale, or you can bring a picnic and a cooler and lawn chairs and enjoy yourself. And hopefully, I've put in my request with Mother Nature. I think it's going to be great on Saturday for the tour, and even better for Music on the Prairie. Our Fall Family Day, also at Belgum Grove, September 10th. It's 1 to 3 in the afternoon on a Sunday, so it's not a real long time, but it seems to work for what we're trying to get across. We'll have raptors there. At our Spring Family Day, we had a great horned owl and a turkey vulture, and they were a hit. It was fun to see them up close and personal, and that was pretty neat. And then Under a Cider Moon, a celebration of autumn, that's our annual fundraiser. It's a live and silent auction event. We serve heavy hors d'oeuvres, and local winery and brewery will be providing beverages. So that is at the Celebration Barn, which is not to be confused with Celebration Farm. The Celebration Barn is off of Sugar Bottom Road, and you'll drive by it on Saturday morning. So yeah, so that's kind of our way that, or some of the things that we do annually. And then every once in a while there's a celebration, or, if we, like right now, we're celebrating a successful capital campaign. So we've been trying to promote that. And of course, like I said, our Nancy Cyberling Circle event is happening on Sunday. A little closer knit group, but most of our stuff is always open to the public. So these are just a few ways that you can help. We do a lot of partnering with local restaurants, and I have brochures over here, and those of you who are watching from home, we have a website, www.buroaklandtrust.org, and Bur Oak is with one R. And so we have a lot of, Baroncini's, Vesta, Shorts East Side, and I hate to name them because I don't forget somebody, but tonight at Hudson's, and they do a Share the Profit with us every 2 months, every other month. So we did in May, we had a really great partnership with Pollyeyes Pizza. Normally we do a Share the Profit. It's a night where the restaurant isn't normally busy. And they'll have like from 4 to 9 or 5 to 9, they'll say, we'll give you a percentage of our sales from that time. So we went to Pollyeyes with that proposition, and they came back with, how about the whole month of May? And when people come in and say Bur Oak Land Trust, we'll give you half of the receipt. And so that was wonderful. That was really, really wonderful. And we were really thrilled with the amount of people who actually went in and said Bur Oak Land Trust. Because it's one thing to eat there. It's a wonderful place. But it's another thing to remember to say Bur Oak Land Trust when you go there. So that was fun, and we hope that we'll do that again. Lucky's Market, we just did our photo op with them yesterday. We were one of the 3 charities that they used the wooden dime. So we did that the first quarter of this year. So that was exciting too. We've just got some great, great partners. So share our events on social media, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, collect ink cartridges for us. It's kind of an unusual thing, but when you take 10 empty ink cartridges into Staples, we get a $20 coupon. And of course that helps because we buy not a lot, but when we buy office supplies, it's nice to have that to fall back on. Advise us of speaking opportunities. Being able to be here is wonderful. We've been trying to reach out to other groups, Rotary groups, Kiwanis, Optimist clubs, those garden clubs, anybody who will sit and listen to us. We're more than happy to share our story. So we have an account at Stuff Etc. So if you happen to be taking stuff there and don't necessarily need or want the proceeds, you can tell them to put it on our account. That would be great. We could always use volunteers on our land or in the office. And our property stewards would absolutely love it if somebody said, I'd love to come out and work with you for a day or an afternoon. Oh my goodness, they would love it. Donate time, talent, treasure. That's really, we have a lot of people that do that. We appreciate them very much, and there's always room for more. We have all kinds of, Amazon Smile, Slick Deals, Giving Assistant. It's all on our website. We have blogs if people are interested in writing blogs, or if you read our blog and you like what you hear, feel free to comment on it. If you are a photographer, or even if you're not, and you happen to be at our property and you take a picture, submit it. We'd love to be able to share stuff like that on social media. It doesn't have to be anything special. It could be a close-up of a bee or a leaf or just the clouds or whatever strikes you. So, and it kind of got cut off, but we have T-shirts and hats and visors and tote bags, and we have great, say, proud supporter of Bur Oak Land Trust. We'd love to see that stuff out and being used. So these are some views of our properties. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and by now everybody's probably getting tired of listening to me. So, so I just have some pictures and just of general property pictures. We have some great things happening out there. I'm not sure how much time we have, but I could talk for hours about this topic because it's one of my favorites. But do you have any questions?
I have a question.
Great.
And it's all about Saturday's event.
Okay, great.
As someone who is not prone to going hiking in the woods, what is appropriate attire?
Okay.
And what do I need to watch out for other than poison ivy?
So, I would say you want to wear long pants and probably not flip-flops, some closed-toe shoes. If you have hiking shoes, that would be good. It's not hard trails. You're not going to be going up steep slopes or, it's just more gradual. But I would say, you want to protect yourself from poison ivy and wood ticks. And the best way to do that is after you've been out there, take a nice soapy shower and make sure you put your clothes in the wash right away. And beyond that, you're good. I mean, a lot of people come out with flip-flops and shorts. It's okay, but not for a work day, but for what we're doing on Saturday, that'd be fine.
Now, on the picture that you had of the property we're going to on Saturday, it looks like the road goes in, and then is that the parking, or you go further on the dirt road to the parking? Or
Okay,
do you know?
so when you turn off of Sugar Bottom Road onto 245th Street, then you keep going. You will pass the Celebration Barn, which is where our Under a Cider Moon and Celebration of Autumn event is happening September 30th, but you keep going, and you'll take a left on Starry Night Lane, which it kind of goes that way anyway. There is a road that goes back, but there's a few houses back there, but it's a dead end. So then this Starry Night Lane dead ends right into a cul-de-sac, which is Big Grove.
And that's
Is
where
right
we
there.
park?
Yep, that's
is in
right.
the cul-de-sac?
Yep,
Okay.
in the cul-de-sac. If we get a really big turnout, you can park along the street on each side on the way to the cul-de-sac. But
Well, and there is a distinct possibility I will have the Iowa City Public Library banner tied to my car somehow. So they
Great.
know they're in the right place.
great,
But
yeah.
I
And there is
wasn't
a
sure.
kiosk there, and there is a Burr Oak Land Trust sign. So if they had all recognized our logo, they will know that they're in the right place. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you so much
Well,
for
thank
coming.
you.
I've got just one quick question.
Sure.
Oh, I'm loud enough.
Well, yeah, we've got to be able to broadcast live.
I see most of the properties that you have there have woods on them. What if somebody had just 42, say, bare acres, and they've already started seeding at the native prairie? Would that be something that would be of interest to you?
Yes. I will say yes, but there's a process we have to go through. But at knee-jerk reaction, yes. Our Belgum Grove property, although it was kind of controversial at the time, it was what some people saw as degraded farmland. And, people, why would we want that? Well, look at it today. It has a 5-acre pond, it has a wetland, it has prairie planted. We did a campaign called Bringing Iowa Back to Belgum Grove. And it was a fundraising campaign to do all the things I just mentioned. And it was very successful, and it was the campaign was successful in fundraising, and the results have been successful. It is a wildlife preserve now, and it wasn't that way before. But if we had not protected it, it could have been asphalt. And once you get asphalt, it's really hard to turn that into anything else.
Well, this property I'm thinking of, it's still in farmland. It's just that gradually, somebody is gradually seeding it to native prairie. And I've long been a fan of native prairie. I can go out and walk around in it all day and enjoy it and see something different with each week.
Yep.
But I just didn't know whether that was something that really captured very many people's interest.
Right. Some of Strube Prairie, actually that's it right there, it's a small prairie, but there's not a lot of big prairie left, especially native prairie. It's either gone or the little bit we do have has been protected. So we're now restoring prairie, which is exactly what you're talking about. You have to start somewhere. We can't go back to the days of the buffalo, so restoring and planting from scratch is what we have these days. So, yeah, great.
Well, thank you all for coming.
Yeah.
And do pick up some of the, what do they call them, community shares?
Yeah, some people call it, like tonight at Hudson's, it's called Community Night. Some people call it Benefit Sunday. Other people call it, we say Share the Profit. But there's a lot of different.
And she has little ones for each restaurant to remind you when it is.
Right. And again, our website, if you, into the future, if you want to, or Facebook, yeah,
The window sticker, bumper sticker, whatever you call it.
right.
So, well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.